Welcome to the latest episode of Hiker Homily. This time I want to talk a little bit about going stoveless. It's something that I have seen several other hikers that I know do. I have seen several hikers that I kind of follow on social media like YouTube and things do. And the little noisemaker over here is our chickens. One of our chickens. But yeah, so I've seen some hikers that I follow on like YouTube and things like that go stoveless. I have done it for a few trips, so certainly, like I like to say, there's always a caveat in there, and I'm certainly no ladies, really, I'm certainly no expert on the topic, but I have, as usual, experimented with it at least a little bit and done quite a bit of research on it. So I'm going to kind of go over some of the things that I have found that may help do that, and maybe just a little quick thing on, what does that mean? What does it mean to go stoveless? Other than, what the obvious title is, the implications of stoveless. That means you're without a stove, right? Yes. So a little stoveless 101 here. Let's go with that. So basically, obviously, that means when you are backpacking, you are not going to bring any kind of a cooking instrument with you, a backpacking stove of any kind or anything like that. Now, obviously, the advantages of that is weight. You're not carrying that weight in your pack anymore. Although some of the backpacking stoves have gotten down to just incredible lightweight levels. Even that amount out of your pack, every little bit helps, right? Especially if you're into the ultralight world and things like that, every single little bit helps. So it's no secret I'm not an ultralighter, but I'm also not an ultra heavier either. If I can make my pack lighter, fine. And so I was intrigued by the whole thing of stoveless. And one of the other things that got me is, obviously, that means you're not going to be cooking your food, and so you're going to have to pick foods that you bring with you that can be eaten without being cooked. They can be eaten cold. And you'll actually find that quite a few normal backpacking options that typically can be cooked with hot water, or you just add boiling water to it, and bingo, you've got a meal, can still be used. You just have to understand that you're not going to be eating something warm. It's going to be uncooked. It's going to be cold. But they can still be eaten. Now, back in my college days, I was a type of person. I was one of those ones who I had absolutely no trouble whatsoever eating cold leftovers. Cold pizza from the day before, no problem. What's that? We had takeout last night. Chinese food last night, takeout, and there's still some left over. I don't got to heat that up. I'm going to have that for lunch, sometimes for breakfast. Things like that. So that kind of stuff, I've always not really had an issue going with things that people normally eat hot and eating them cold. No texture issues, no taste issues. It tasted just fine to me. I was totally good with that. I don't need it heated up. What's that? We had chicken last night. Oh, okay. No need to heat that. I'll just have that for lunch. Throw it in a sandwich or a burrito, or a wrap like that. So that's one of the things that, as a hiker, you're going to have to wrap your mind around. That if you're going to go stoveless, you're going to have to convince your head that not everything has to be cooked, even things that you might normally cook. So obviously, some of the stuff you're going to look at is going to be things like tortillas, cheeses, cold cuts, all that kind of thing, that you normally don't always have to cook. A lot of hikers don't cook that kind of thing anyway. They just use a tortilla in lieu of bread, basically, and they just wrap anything in it. Anything from breakfast types of stuff to fruit to rices and cheese and salami and summer sausage, all that kind of thing. No real need to heat those up at all. So those are a big thing for the stoveless hikers. But I love my chickens, but yeah, they want to get on film. This is their first time making their debut, so they're being hams. Chickens are being hams? I don't think that's possible. Anyway, But there's a lot else out there. I know I've put out a video talking about how couscous is one of the staples I use as a backpacking meal because it is extremely easy to heat up and things like that. Things like ramen, another big staple. Add hot water, boom, you've got a meal, stuff like that. Well, a lot of those things, couscous included, do not have to be heated up. If you are the type of person that can handle it not hot and just handle the texture of it when it's also cold, it makes a fantastic cold soaking meal. We're going to talk a little bit about what cold soaking is, because if you're going to go stoveless, you really kind of goes hand in hand. You need to, because you're going to get tired of just eating certain things like salami and cheese wrapped in a tortilla, especially if you're on a longer hike, maybe even a through hike and things like that. You're going to get tired of that. I would imagine just, the same thing several times a day. Oh, this kind of meat with cheese that doesn't need to be heated up, wrapped in a tortilla. Oh, and then tonight it's going to be this kind of meat with some cheese wrapped in a tortilla. You're going to need more variety in that. And there are so many things that can be eaten cold soaked. Things that I have experimented with myself on several trips are like instant oatmeal. You don't have to heat that. If you can handle the fact that it's not, because a lot of people, they're used to, oh, it's oatmeal, so it's going to be nice and warm. And so when their brain gets something that is not warm, they have this reaction. And I get that. There's people out there that kind of do that. That's never bothered me. I can eat that cold. Most others who go stoveless end up eating that cold. I have seen one hiker. I have not tried it myself. I did see one hiker on social media. One of her favorites is instant mashed potatoes, cold soaked. You just add just regular cold water to it, and she eats it, no problem. I'm going to try that myself eventually. I don't think I'm going to have an issue with it. I think it'll be fine. I have personally done things like ramen, couscous, certain rice dishes that usually I can just add hot water to, cold soaked if given enough time, and they will work. The big key that I have found anyway to cold soaking is make sure you test things first before you're out there. The first time you're going to try this particular thing to cold soak it better not be when you're all the way out there and that's what you've got to eat that day and things like that. You need to make sure it works first at home. And so I do that. I get out the gear that I'm going to be carrying backpacking. Okay, let's see if this little box thing, I would repackage this into a bag, but for at home, I'm going to pour this in here. Okay, this and that. I'm going to add this much water. Boom. And then I'm going to sit there, and you've seen me do it maybe on one or two of the reviews I've done. Like with the review I did on the beef pho. I think that's already out on the channel. Yeah, I'll check it. Okay, 10 minutes. No, I can't eat that yet. It's not constituted. It's not right. 20 minutes, getting a little bit better. 30, okay. For that particular thing, 40, okay. Now it is edible. I could actually eat this. But bear in mind that a lot of what you're going to be doing is you're going to have whatever you're going to eat for breakfast, and then you're going to set up your cold soak right after breakfast before you get on the old pack and start heading down the trail. And so it's going to be in your pack soaking for a couple of hours. So you need to try things at home first, because number one, you need to know how long it's going to take before they are edible. Okay, this is edible after 30-40 minutes of cold soaking. It's ready to go. Fantastic. But you also have to go further than that. Let it sit in there for a couple of hours like it will in your pack, and then see if it's still edible, because some of these things, if they get too soaked, or maybe they'll get too starchy or something like that. So you're going to have to check with that. Make sure it works first at home before you take it out on the trail. And that should be with almost all your equipment, your gear, and so it shouldn't be any different with your food, right? Really no. So there are all kinds of things, including a lot of the staples that I tend to use, the couscous, the ramen, all those kinds of things. You can still add things to it like Spam, summer sausage, salami, whatever you're carrying with you for your protein, things like that. A lot of simple proteins can be reconstituted. If you're doing beans, you can carry them dry and then let them soak all day long for dinner. You put them in there, put them in whatever you're going to soak them in at breakfast time, and by the end of the day when it's dinner time, they should be ready to be eaten. You just add whatever spices you want to them, and a protein or anything else you want to add to them, and boom, you've got a meal. Put them on a tortilla, eat them straight out of the cup. different things like that. I do a lot of instant rices, a lot of those instant packets, instant oatmeal, all those kinds of things. Again, especially for cold soaking, one of the staples I just love to use is couscous, because it is so diverse. Not only does it come in the store, if you want to buy it that way, packaged with all kinds of different flavors and things, but just the regular couscous, you just take that without the spice packet it comes with, and you can flavor it in so many ways. You can make breakfast couscous by adding sweet things to it, like, you know, some fruit, maybe some brown sugar, whatever that kind of thing you want to carry with you. It works fantastic for all kinds of different meals. You can add all kinds of different spices to it. Cheese, you can add meats to it. You can add beans to it. There's all kinds of things you can do with couscous. It is one of the top, as far as I'm concerned, and far as I've experienced, the little bit of experience I've had, one of the top cold soak options that you can go with. Ramen comes in there as a close second. Some of the other alternatives to ramen, there's a lot of other dry noodle things that you can add in there that you can do cold soaking on. So you have that option, and so cold soaking, I think, would be a big way to do the stoveless thing and still keep some variety in your meals, and that really, really helps on long hikes. Now, for like a 2-night backpack trip, I could probably handle, okay, every meal is going to be salami and cheese and something simple like that, and then I'll throw some trail mix in there to keep me happy with a little bit of other things. Maybe for the first night I'll carry something fresh with me, like an apple or something. You know, you can do things like that for short trips, and you'll be fine. You'll get away with it. You're okay. But for those longer trips, I think it really does help to have some variety in your diet, to not eat the same stuff over and over again, and that's the way to do it. And then for the shorter trips, if you don't have to, there's nothing wrong with having some variety. Yes, I'm going to eat something different for this dinner than I'm going to have for tomorrow night's dinner, and you know, I can carry it. It's there. The options are available. So going stoveless, some of the drawbacks can be is if you just can't handle certain foods cold. No, I can't eat couscous unless it's warm. I just can't do it. I can't eat oatmeal unless it's warm. I can't eat this unless it's warm. Okay, then one of the drawbacks is going to be your variety, your ability to have a variety of food on your trip is going to be cut down. Unfortunately, it just is. There are other options out there of things you can eat that don't need to be cooked and things, but you are kind of cutting off a whole big section by just not having the palate that can handle certain things cold. You know, whatever the texture, like mashed potatoes cold, you just can't do it. That texture just drives you crazy. And you know, yeah, it's going to happen. There are folks out there who have that issue. I have never been one, and so that's one of the reasons, again, why I'm kind of interested in cold soaking, is I know that things like texture issues and stuff like that aren't going to be the thing that put me off. If it tastes decent, whether it's hot or cold isn't going to make any difference to me. So that's some of the drawback there. Obviously, some of the good to it is the fact that you are indeed saving weight and space. The space that you would normally carry your fuel. And you know, like I say, the stoves nowadays are getting down to just little tiny things. It's really the fuel canisters that take up space and really add weight, and you don't got to carry those anymore. So that really helps. That pulls ounces off of the weight on your back and things like that. So that's pretty good. Cold soaking, kind of just the real basic overview of that. Anybody out there have any real good experiences with cold soaking? Anybody have some bad experience with cold soaking? Let me know. Comments below as always, or at hikingforhealthca@gmail.com, or anywhere else I post these funny videos. And as always, thanks for watching. Totally appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.